You think you know someone, until you realize the person you share your bed with has been sharing someone else's too. I'll be honest with you, I thought I had it all. My life looked like something out of a glossy magazine. A beautiful wife who turned heads wherever we went, a house that could fit a small village, and a lifestyle most people only dream about. My wife, let's call her Grace, had everything she could ask for. She dabbled in art, calling herself an artist. But if I'm being real, it was more of a hobby than a career. She painted when she felt inspired, which wasn't often. But I didn't mind. I wanted her to feel supported, so I made sure she had everything she needed. Not that she sold much, but it didn't matter to me. I worked hard to ensure her comfortable life. She didn't have to stress about bills, deadlines, or anything else. While I was juggling board meetings and contracts, she was free to focus on what made her happy. I won't lie. Seeing her smile, knowing I could give her the world, felt like a win for me. I loved playing the role of the provider. I never once questioned where she went or how often she went. I trusted her completely. It never even crossed my mind to doubt her loyalty. After all, why would I? We had a good thing, or so I thought. It started with a message from an unknown number. At first, I thought it was spam, but then I opened it. My stomach dropped. The message read, "Your wife is cheating on you with your best friend. Don't believe me? Check these out." Attached are photos. The first one showed my wife, smiling, sitting far too close to my best friend at a restaurant I didn't recognize. The second was worse. Her hand on his arm, his hand on hers. The timestamps were from nights she told me she was out with her girlfriends, and I was out of town. The locations? Nowhere near where she claimed to be. I scrolled further. A photo of them walking into a hotel lobby together. My first reaction was disbelief. I stared at the screen, my mind racing to find an explanation. Any explanation that wasn't what it so clearly was. But denial couldn't erase the truth staring me in the face. That's when all the little things I'd ignored started flooding back. Like the day I traveled for business. I called her in the afternoon, but she didn't pick up. I tried again in the evening around 6 p.m., and still no response. By 10 p.m., when I called again, her phone was switched off. The next day, when we finally spoke, she said, "Oh, I was so tired I just slept off early." At the time, it didn't add up. Why wouldn't she pick up in the afternoon or evening before supposedly sleeping? But instead of digging deeper, I brushed it off. I wanted to believe her, so I ignored the obvious signs staring me in the face. Then there were the vacations. She always insisted on taking solo trips to relax and recharge. She claimed I worked too hard and deserved my own downtime. At first, I admired her independence, but the pieces weren't adding up now. Was she really unwinding, or was she meeting him? My anger started to bubble up. How could she betray me like this? And with my best friend of all people. I trusted him with everything. I wanted to confront her immediately, to call her and demand an explanation, to show her the evidence and watch her squirm under the weight of her lies. But then a thought stopped me. What would that accomplish? A screaming match? A rushed apology? More lies to cover up what I already knew? No, if I wanted to deal with this, I needed to be smarter. Anger could wait. I had to think about my next move carefully. And that's when I decided I wouldn't say a word. Not yet. Let her think I was still the clueless husband. That way, I could take control of the situation on my terms. When she mentioned her upcoming vacation, I nodded along like the trusting husband she thought I still was. "You deserve a break," I even said, smiling like a fool. But deep down I knew this wasn't a holiday. It was a carefully planned rendezvous with my so-called best friend. It wasn't the first time she'd made these trips. The signs had been there all along, but I guess I was too blinded by trust, or maybe too scared to face the truth, to see them for what they were. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, a man funding my wife's betrayal, paying for her plane tickets, hotel stays, and probably even the fancy dinners she had with her lover. It was almost laughable. But that's when I made a decision. This would be her last trip on my dime. I wasn't going to let her get away with it again. Watching her pack her designer suitcase, she was so oblivious and so confident in my ignorance. I let her kiss me goodbye. She had no idea what was coming. As she walked out the door, I made a mental note. Her little vacation wasn't just the end of her secret affair. It was the beginning of the end of everything she thought she could take for granted. While she was on her way, heading to her vacation, I did what any man with a shred of self-respect would do. I froze her access to everything. Her credit cards? Blocked. The joint accounts? Locked tight. Even the emergency card I'd given her for just-in-case moments? Gone. I made sure she couldn't touch a single penny of mine. And just to make things crystal clear, I blocked her phone number. No calls, no texts, no pitiful excuses. If she wanted to experience life without me, I was more than happy to let her. The next day, my phone rang. It wasn't her. I'd made sure of that, but her mother. The moment I picked up, she was screaming, "Selfish bastard. Because of you, she can't enjoy her vacation." I didn't even flinch. All I could think was, well, there it is. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Like mother, like daughter. Entitled, manipulative, and completely unaware of the damage they cause. I didn't bother arguing. What was the point? People like her don't listen. I just hung up the phone and moved on with my day, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. The moment I decided there was no turning back, I picked up the phone and called my lawyer. If anyone knew how to handle something as messy as this, it was him. Now here's the thing. I knew my wife. She didn't love me. She loved what I could provide. The big house, the holidays, the luxury. She probably thought that if it came to this, she'd walk away with half of everything, smiling all the way to the bank. What she didn't know is that I'd been preparing for this possibility for years. I set up a trust fund before we got married. Not because I didn't trust her back then, but because I knew that life can get unpredictable. Every major asset I own, the house, my business, the investments, they're all tied to that trust. Legally, she can't touch it. She has no rights to any of it. The trust isn't even in my name. It's managed by a third-party company, which means it's airtight in a divorce. She came back a week later, dragging her suitcase through the door like it weighed more than her dignity. I didn't offer to help. Why would I? Her face said it all, shaken, humiliated, and angry, though not at herself. Her family had scraped together money to get her back, along with her lover boy. The same man she thought was her escape plan. I wondered if he was still smiling now that their little vacation had turned into a reality check. As soon as she stepped into the house, the tears started. "How could you abandon me like that?" she sobbed, her voice cracking as though she were the victim here. I was stranded. Do you know how embarrassing that was? How could you do this to me? I didn't say anything. I just stood there, watching her theatrics, letting her dig her own grave with every word. When she realized I wasn't biting, she got more desperate. "I didn't mean for things to get this bad. I've been thinking about us, about everything. I'm sorry, okay? Can we please just talk about this?" "Talk? Oh, we were going to talk, all right." I walked over to the table, pulled out my phone, and showed her the message. The one with the pictures. Her face went pale. For a moment, I thought she'd faint. But then, like a trained actor, the waterworks started again. "It's not what it looks like," she stammered. It was a mistake." "A mistake?" I wanted to laugh. The photos weren't mistakes. The hotel bookings weren't mistakes. She wasn't crying because she was sorry. She was crying because she was caught. I watched her carefully, analyzing every tear, every quiver in her voice. It was like she thought if she could just look pitiful enough, I'd forget everything and open my wallet again. She had no idea she was wasting her time. She switched tactics, grabbing my arm and looking up at me with those big, pleading eyes. "I've changed," she said. "I promise you it was a moment of weakness. I don't know what I was thinking. I love you." Love? Was that what she called it? She didn't love me. She loved the life I gave her. The trips, the jewelry, the access to everything she could ever want. And now that I'd cut her off, she was scrambling to get it back. I nodded slowly, pretending to consider her words. I even put on a little show of my own, sighing like I was torn. "I'll think about it," I said, knowing full well she wouldn't get another penny out of me. In the days that followed, I watched her every move. She'd hover around me, trying to look apologetic, throwing in the occasional "I'm sorry" whenever she thought it might soften me up. But her desperation was written all over her face. This wasn't love or regret. It was survival. She was a drowning woman trying to grab onto anything to keep from sinking. And I let her flail. Let her feel the weight of what she'd done. Desperation makes people do crazy things, doesn't it? By the time my wife realized I wasn't playing games, she was scrambling for anything, to stop me from walking away for good. And her big move? She sat me down one day, looking as pitiful as I'd ever seen her, and said, "I'm pregnant." Now, let me tell you something. At that moment, I didn't explode. I didn't yell. I just stared at her, letting her words hang in the air. Because, you see, I knew something she didn't. I can't have kids. Medically impossible. Found that out years ago, not long after we got married. And I never told her. Why? Because I never thought I'd need to, because we agreed not to have kids. So I leaned back in my chair, keeping my voice calm. "That's interesting," I said. She looked so relieved, probably thinking I'd fallen for it. But then I dropped the bomb. Because I can't have children. Her face was like watching a building collapse in slow motion. At first, she just blinked at me, like maybe she misheard. Then her mouth opened, but no words came out. It made sense why I told her I don't want kids, which she agreed to before the marriage. Finally, she started stammering, throwing out excuses so fast they tripped over each other. "Oh, I thought I was just late," she said. "It must have been stress." "Stress? Sure. Let's call it that." I leaned forward, looked her right in the eye, and said, "If you're pregnant, it's not my child. So who's the father?" And just like that, her whole act crumbled. She burst into tears, blubbering about how she wasn't actually pregnant, how she only said it because she didn't want me to leave. "I just wanted us to fix things," she sobbed. "Fix things? Fix things? The same things she broke with my best friend? The same things she destroyed? Sure, let's fix that." I stood up, walked out of the room, and left her there to deal with her lies. When it finally hit her that the game was over, she didn't go quietly. Oh no, there was bitterness, plenty of it. She didn't throw tantrums or make dramatic scenes, but you could feel it in her tone, in the way she'd glare at me like I was the villain in her story. In her mind, I was the one who ruined everything. Never mind that she was the one sneaking around with my best friend while I worked to give her the life she enjoyed. I know she thought about running to him. I mean, who else did she have left? But deep down, she knew he wasn't the answer. Sure, he could laugh at her jokes and entertain her in private, but he couldn't provide the luxury, the comfort, the security that came with being my wife. I'd bet anything she looked at him one day and realized he wasn't built to give her the life she wanted. And just like that, her fantasy crumbled. She tried to come back. Oh, she'd text me, messages full of fake apologies and promises to change. Sometimes she'd call, her voice soft, pretending to be vulnerable, telling me how much she missed us. She was hoping to pull me back into her web, hoping I'd forget what she did and give her another chance. But I couldn't, because once someone shows you who they really are, you can't unsee it. I won't lie, there were moments I felt the weight of it all. I missed having someone around, the companionship, the routine. But every time I thought about it, I remembered her lies, the betrayal, and the look on her face when she realized she'd lost everything. That image was enough to snap me out of any lingering attachment. Her downfall was her own doing, driven by greed and her inability to value what she already had. In the end, she didn't just lose me. She lost the life she'd built around me. And the worst part for her? She knew there was no one to blame but herself. You know, the funny thing about betrayal is that it doesn't just change how you see the person who hurt you. It changes how you see yourself. I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss her sometimes. Not the person she became, but the version of her I thought I knew. The version that didn't exist. What would you do if you were in my shoes? Imagine thinking life is steady, surrounded by people you trust, only to find out that trust has been torn apart by the two people closest to you. Your wife, your best friend. It's a punch in the gut, isn't it? But let me ask you, how would you handle it? Would you confront them right away? Would you try to save what's left of the marriage? Or would you do what I did? Stay calm, plan your moves, and let the truth unravel itself in the most satisfying way possible. I want to hear your thoughts. Have you ever gone through something like this? Let me know in the comments below. Share your experiences, your advice, or even just your thoughts. And if you think this story might resonate with someone who might need to hear it, don't forget to like and share this video. Sometimes, sharing a story can help someone realize they're not alone. We've all faced moments where life throws us a curveball we weren't ready for. It's not about avoiding the betrayal. It's about deciding how you respond. And that response can define everything